Hi, today we're going to discuss the improvements we've made to when 3CX or its users need to call an emergency number, or essentially when you call 911. So, first of all, 911 or 112 or 000 for Australia, when you call these numbers, once they're specified in the emergency numbers page in 3CX, the most important change is that these calls are not counted towards the license limit. So if all the license channels are occupied, any call to an emergency number will be allowed. So that's change number one. Now, how are we going to handle E911 and location? So, E911 works like this. When you dial an emergency number, the call will go to the SIP trunk, and the SIP trunk provider is, by regulation, should attach like a location certificate to this call. This is why we call it enhanced E911 or enhanced 911. When you attach a location certificate, of course, you would have had to add an address to your SIP trunk prior to configuring it in 3CX. So, an example here is a particular SIP trunk where you can buy your normal production SIP trunks to use for everyday and daily business calls. However, you can also buy a special SIP trunk, which some providers actually enforce this. And you'll buy your E911 SIP trunk from the same provider. From the SIP provider's portal, you'd need to enter the address and the location. And from then on, when a SIP trunk provider receives a 911 emergency call on this trunk, it will know and send this information to the PSAP or Public Safety Answering Point. And when the call is received by this network, it automatically knows the location from where you're dialing, so it can send emergency relief to that location without waiting for the user or the caller to elaborate or specify their own location. Location can be really detailed, like, for example, not only the address, but even up to the level of the floor, the cubicle, or in a hospital ward. Whatever, yes, whatever the administrator decides to put as a location for that number. So let's see how to get this working in real life. So let's assume that I went to my SIP trunk provider, and I have two offices, one in Atlanta and one in Miami. Okay, so I'd add these two SIP trunks. 911 Atlanta from my fictitious provider, okay, cxprovider.net, and 911 Miami from cxprovider.net, okay? Now, after this, I'll go to settings PBX, and I will add the two emergency numbers here, which will be, I'll give them a name that makes sense, 911 Atlanta, to show that this rule is mapped to my 911 SIP trunk for Atlanta. The number will be 911, and I can also decide which users can dial this number, because these users actually happen to work in the Atlanta office, okay? Or I can add groups as well. I'll show you this later. And I'll pass this via the 911 Atlanta office. So that's done. And then I'll do the same for Miami, 911 Miami. When these users call 911, the call will be routed via 911 Miami SIP trunk, and the Public Safety Answering Point will get the right location. Okay, you can also do this via groups. For example, I'll add an extension group, one for Atlanta office, okay, where I will add these three, for example, and okay, and another group for Miami office, where I will add the following three. Okay, so I can even extend my settings, and when I go to the rule, I can just declare the group. Any users from the Atlanta office When they dial 911, the call will be routed to the Atlanta SIP trunk, and any users that I add to the Miami group will go via the Miami SIP trunk. I hope you have found this informative, and I thank you for watching.